Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review of Iron Man issue 3. And I enjoyed this issue. It got us fuller into kind of what's going on with Korvac a little bit, more at the end of the issue. But we get Tony kind of ruminating on his situation, and we get a little bit more look into Patsy Walker, Hellcat's kind of whole state of mind and where she's at. So this issue kind of starts off with Tony kind of ruminating on why he does what he does as why he does Iron Man and what the people kind of want from him, because we see more of an adversarial kind of approach to how Iron Man is kind of doing his thing. It's not really adversarial, but people are kind of pushing back on his stuff, and we see him kind of trying to retool and trying to figure out what he kind of wants from them and what they kind of want from him. Like, do they want him to be like a demon kind of thing? And you got this kind of whole thing about being like a supernatural entity, different kind of spelling than the usual kind of demon with an E. And I'm like, okay, being like some kind of supernatural guide between like earth and heaven kind of thing. I'm like, that's kind of an interesting way to kind of do it. How he should be like helping people and all that, and we see him taking out robots and stuff like that, and being brought up the whole AI revolution bit, and taking out other people as well. And while the police are on me like, hey, break it up, it's like, I'm trying to stop this dude from doing bad things. Him, of course, getting shot up by Madame Mask, and him just like walking on as he's like dinged and everything. He even stops by at his school, and the kids are all like, oh yeah, hey, it's Iron Man, asking him questions and everything, and they're like actually pretty positive towards him. But of course, the teachers come out and be like, this is so against the regulations. You're supposed to sign in the front desk, and now it's going to take us forever to get them all calmed down. Now, granted, I understand if I was a kid and Iron Man did the superhero landing and was talking to me, I'd be like, oh yeah, this is pretty awesome. I'd be pretty hyped for like a week. No matter what the teachers said, if they tried to calm us down, because it's all rigid and everything like that. I'm like, there's some stuff that'd be cool, like superhero popping up to say hello, especially Iron Man with how his stuff is. And then he's like, fine, whatever, and then just blasts off. And we see that he is like ruminating on this stuff at a Burger Hut at like 3:45 a.m. He's like, sir, this is a Burger Hut. He's actually been talking about this stuff out loud. He's like, just give me this kind of stuff. I gotta get to the airport. Him and Hellcat are going to check on his investment because he decided to invest in Korvac's idea, even though he doesn't know that's Korvac yet. And she doesn't have any information on Unicorn. He got to the East River and nobody's heard hide or hair of him since. And of course, she's like, yeah, this is how the people live back here in Coach. And Tony's like, the legroom back here, checking your baggage for $50 and stuff like that. And what's going on with that? And I'm like, yeah, it might seem like it's complaining, but they're like valid kind of complaints. It's like, I don't know, maybe you can get that kind of start kind of thing and be like, hey, maybe we could make something that has more legroom and not stuff people in like sardines. And she's like, are you doing all right? And he's like, something that like coffee with like powdered creamer should be able to fix. And she's like telling him not to lean back because the captain hasn't said that kind of stuff yet. But he's bringing up the whole stuff of investing in Korvac's idea with the capturing of lightning and everything, and talking about the optics of it. She's like, why are you worried about it? He's like, well, maybe you're not as famous as me. And then, of course, she's like, well, fuck you, and gets into the whole thing of, like, death and everything like that. And it's like, maybe I don't worry about that kind of stuff because of what I came back from. He's like, well, I died too. She's like, yeah, but mine was a choice, and it was a wrong one, and I got to deal with that in my head, so I don't really give a crap about the opinions of other people when I'm trying to preserve myself in my own head. It's like, damn. So it was nice to kind of get that insight into Hellcat, because I was not that versed with her character before this. She was introduced in here, and it's really kind of nice. Now, granted, I like that she's kind of checking Tony in a lot of respects, but they really butt heads a lot. I mean, they help each other out, but it's like, holy shit, we kind of need to... I understand it takes a couple issues to kind of get into that kind of flow sometimes, but I hope they kind of get onto a better kind of wavelength, because it's like, holy shit. And he's like, oh yeah, sorry and everything. And she, of course, puts on her headphones and everything to get through the whole flight. And of course, at the beginning of the issue, we had seen that Unicorn was somewhere outside in Oklahoma and talking about like his god and whatnot. His lightning kind of like strikes his ass. It's like, okay. And then we see that Tony is talking with Korvac/Fuller and like, yeah, everything's pretty much set up. Getting information. He came in his suit because he wanted to see what was going on. Goes through the basic process of how it pretty much creates a corridor for the lightning to come down to the lightning rods to collect it. They've also got 58 other sites across the globe, so it's like, they scaled up pretty quickly on that. And Tony starts noticing that everything's pretty much doesn't have the start name on it. I was like, yeah, I didn't want any of that traced back, as lightning then strikes Tony, and we see that he's got other people of Unicorn, Blizzard, and Controller, some of the old school kind of people that I kind of like seeing. We also saw Melter, as Melter had melted Tony's car, and he's like, fuck that shit, and took him up, dropped him down, but was able to catch him before he like killed him, because Hellcat brought that up. I was like, that's kind of extreme. And I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't do that either. Granted, I'd be pissed off if somebody melted my car, but I wouldn't fly him up and be like, but we see that he's like, yeah, I kind of need to these guys to take care of my little Iron Man problem, and my goal is to become a demigod, but go even further than that and be God. And Tony's like, oh crap, this is going to be nasty. So he's pretty much pontificating as Hellcat that comes in and knocks his ass out, knocks into a good amount of them with a Jeep, because evidently a kid at the gas station is like, hey, yeah, we saw this weird dude in a green mask with like a third eye, and it's like, yeah, Unicorn. And they're pretty much taking down the rest of them, and they're following along with this kind of like religious kind of thematic kind of stuff going on. Controller, who it's good to see him in here again, and he's more regular size and everything. And Hellcat's fighting Blizzard, and we get a whole Dairy Queen joke. It's like, yeah, he's Blizzard, but not the fun one with the ice cream and the candy mixed in. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of cool. DQ doesn't get that many shoutouts like that. And I'm like, that was pretty good. But they're pretty much taking him out. But then, of course, Korvac uses his lightning to strike both of them. And he's like, yeah, screw this kind of noise. And he's like, yeah, we're getting out of here. And then we see that Tony's defibrillation's able to bring him back. But we see that Hellcat is in bad shape. He's like, oh, shit, I did it again. And that's where the issue ends. It's like, hopefully Tony's able to help Hellcat, and having another near-death experience like that is probably going to shake her a lot more. Granted, as it should. So, Tony now understands where he's at. We have seen that Korvac understands the threat that Tony can put upon his plans, because he's like, yeah, we've seen that he had encountered him in Avengers 176, as one of the notes in the issue had said. It's like, okay, Tony and Hellcat are going to have a time dealing with this kind of group of villains, because normally you wouldn't really think to see these villains out. And I'm glad that Blizzard was used. I say that because there used to be this old Game Boy Advance game with Iron Man, and you actually got to fight Blizzard in that as a boss, and it's cool to see him being used in these kind of villainous machinations of Korvac. So I just like seeing that all these weird, strange kind of low-level kind of villains being used in these plans, and it's just a nice way to check in on them, and also give our heroes different kind of people to fight. It's like, okay, yeah, you can create new villains. I like creating new villains, but also utilize these older school villains as well. So it's like, all right. So I can't wait to see how Tony kind of takes this new information of who he's up against and who he's dealing with, and what he's going to be able to do to try and help Hellcat, because she got struck by lightning. A powerful bolt of lightning. That's going to screw you up. So those are my opinions on the issue. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.